Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming on this beautiful Friday afternoon. We're thrilled to have you here. I'm Trip Anderson, the Executive Director here at AVA Gallery Art Center. I've been on the job just about a year and a half now, so getting used to it. And we thank Susan and Helen and Bruce for all being here together with us. We're going to try something new today, a panel discussion for all three of the artists. And thank you for participating in this, and thank you for sharing this beautiful work with us. And congratulations again for being the winners of last summer's Juried show. It's my great pleasure to introduce all of you to AVA's exhibition manager, the person responsible for hanging and lighting this beautiful display. And she will be moderating the panel discussion, and she will introduce the artists. So, Mila Kennegan.
Thank you all so much for being here. It is my pleasure to moderate this panel with Susan, Helen, and Bruce. The last week working with all of their beautiful pieces has just been extraordinary. I feel that even though they were all chosen individually for their individual excellence, the more I see their work together, I'm starting to see all of these connections. And so I'm so excited to have all three of you here so you can sort of maybe hopefully show me that some of those connections are maybe indeed true and real. Yes. So we will begin with some of the questions that we have prepared, and then I will open it up to all of you. If you have any burning questions, I encourage you to please participate in that portion. So, without any further ado, first I would love for each of you just to introduce yourselves, your name, and a little bit about the body of work that we see here in this exhibition. So let's start with you, Bruce.
Well, Bruce, I forgot the question. Bruce Blanchett, I work out of Walpole, New Hampshire, and I've been doing this for so long it's hard to even remember when I started, but it was a long time ago. Graduated in 1964 from undergraduate school, so you can extrapolate from there. What I've been working on for a long time, I've had a studio in Walpole since about 2003. I built a new final studio. I call it Studio 8. It was actually the 8th studio that I had worked in over all those years. And it's a nice, complete studio the way I wanted it. I didn't have to rebuild it and so on. And then I retired from the workaday world in 2008. When for the last 10 years I've been able to really spend a lot of time in that studio. So I do that, and this is pretty much a little insight into what I've been doing over the past 10 years or so, although most of the work is newer. There are a few older pieces. My history is sculpture, but what it's turned out to be is a lot of wall-mounted pieces, because for some reason that just seemed to appeal to me. I'm kind of eclectic in the way I think and the way I work, so there is a bit of that in the work you see here. You know, they all kind of come from different starting points, and most of it is based on the process that I use and the materials that I select when I start. I think I'll let it go at that.
Yeah.
We'll just go with other people.
Yeah. What about you, Helen?
I'm Helen Shulman, and I'm a painter. I use abstract imagery primarily, well, entirely. This is looking at cold waxes, the medium. This is my third career in life, and one of the ones that means the most to me. I started out as a mathematician, and then moved into social work. I guess you can tell I wasn't sure exactly where I was headed, and I really enjoyed that, and I became a psychotherapist and had a private practice, which I loved. And then when I retired from that, I was able to work in my art more, but I didn't really see it as a potential profession. I thought that was something that had been eluded me many years ago, and I didn't even think about it anymore. But finally a friend of mine said, why don't you just check with a gallery. Actually what happened was I was working kind of all over the map, which is fine, doing a lot of realism. It's very important in my mind to learn how to do that anyway. And then I had been a potter because, I could be a craftsperson, but I couldn't be an artist. That was something that was inaccessible. So I began making images of my bowls, which I liked, and then began making images just of the glaze effects on the bowls. And those moved into a series, and that series I proposed to a local gallery in Woodstock, which unfortunately now is out of business, the AVA Gallery. And much to my amazement and delight, they took the work. And after that, I just, then I was in a different world altogether. And that has how it's evolved. What I'm working towards in my paintings, and this has been pretty much throughout, let me back up a little bit. When I was a therapist, I had this incredible privilege of sitting with people, talking about some of the most important aspects of their lives, how they thought, how they perceived them, and how they made their problem-solving decisions. It was remarkable, but I also saw that once they felt understood and heard themselves talk in a room where there were no distractions and someone was listening carefully, they could make a shift. It was extraordinary. So I don't exactly translate that into my work, but what I'm aiming for is to create some environment that invites people to enter, to pause a minute, to stop thinking about everything they normally think about, and just kind of let their shoulders drop down and move into an internal space where they're telling their own story about what they're seeing. So that's what I'm about.
My name is Susan Wilson, and my husband and I moved up here, retired in 2009. I had taught art for 32 years at all levels, from K through college, and always worked. But this is my time to really work. And so this latest body of work, first, I do want to say this. I want to say thank you to Ava, to Mila, to Chip, to everybody here, and to John Stomberg, who was the juror of these 3 shows a year ago. I find Ava to be an incredibly supportive, warm, and competent place. My image is that I see over, and I don't know how many years, what, 40? Does anyone know how long it's been?
45.
45, okay, for 45 years. I see that this place is here and the way it is because of many, many hands and hearts. And actually, and a place of joy too, and we all need those places. And I do want to say that a week ago there was a memorial service for a woman's Sybil Williamson, whom I had the fortune to get to know a little bit. And when I said goodbye the week before she died, I said, Sybil, I hope you'll read it. And Ava, well, she is here. I'm looking for her. And I did want to mention that. My body of work here I call an awakening, heads and hands, hands and voices. And it has evolved. I never know when it's really going to start, and I don't know when it's going to end. Maybe it'll never end. But I think it was in the middle, when my work became more clear to me in the last several years. And for me, this world is full of stress, struggle, conflict, and for many, unfortunately, pain. And so I've always been concerned with justice issues, racial, social issues, and for me, this work just kind of took form over the last, say, 3 or 4 years. And I have moved from a more meditative, my work has always been meditative and a bit psychological, and it's moved to a more active place, I feel, in terms of what's coming out of it right now. So I'm happily ensconced in Putney, and I love my studio, and I love my community, and where I go from here, I have ideas. I do have some ideas.
We'll save that for the end.
Yeah, that's enough for now.
Well, it's hard to believe it was last summer that we were all in the juried show, and John Stomberg selected your work. And he was actually here earlier today, and he was so sorry to miss all 3 of you, but he sends his best wishes for tonight, and he's so excited with the show. Said it could be in Manhattan and would still look good. So he was so happy to see full bodies of work from each of you, and that really has been such a treat. So since you were given the award, how has that affected your work? Has it affected your work at all? And if so, in what way? Sort of in the preparation between that event and the opening today. Maybe let's start with Helen this time.
Okay, I was thinking about that a lot this week, and last year was a year of tremendous transition for me. We left our home in Quechee in Vermont, where we had been we'd owned that place for 37 years. It was remote, quiet, in the midst of nature. I never heard a human generated sound. Sometimes I turn off the refrigerator because it was annoying. The place was that quiet. And we moved here. And I grew up in a very small town in Amish country in Ohio. And this is bigger than that. And I've lived in New York, and this is obviously smaller than that. But it's a bustling, wonderful town. And so that major move, I can't exactly separate out what the change in my life from the move and the impact that the award had, because those things were both important for me last year. And I realized that over the years I've said things, I'm sure we all do, wouldn't it be nice if, and I said, wouldn't it be nice if I could someday have a studio in an artist building? Wouldn't it be nice if I could be in a community and become more politically active? Wouldn't it be nice if someday I actually won an award? And those 3 things have happened within this year, and they're all tremendously exciting to me. Then to have a discussion about whether you were not accepted to a show or rejected from a show. And I used to say, well, you're either accepted or rejected, and she said, no, you're either accepted or not accepted, because she didn't want, that kind of blow that you get when you walk around and say, oh, they didn't accept me. But I would say, well, if I'm not going to feel really kind of blue about not getting accepted, how can I feel really super excited about getting it? So anyway, it went on and on. And I did learn over the years that awards and acceptances into shows are dependent on one juror, on one day, and with what else is around. So in that context, I still like to maintain the high of winning and something of the low of losing. So this was a high. And listening to him last year, what he said about it, I was like, whoa, spinning up on the ceiling someplace. It was great. I think all of those things are just so affirmative. But saying about being at AVA is affirmative. My studio is upstairs. And I check into the office, people respond to me and my work, and this just is such it just feeds me constantly. So anyway, it just all kind of interweaves.
Bruce, how about you?
Well, I have similar feelings to the reaction I had to the win of the prize last year, because I was totally unexpected. It was totally unexpected. And I just, there was a lot of great work there, and it sort of blew me away. And I think what really was affirming to me was when John just said the word. He said it was a gorgeous piece. And I just said to myself, that was not a word I would have ever used, but it just made me feel so good because, like yourselves, I mean, it's a long time. You do a lot of work for a long time, and you spend a lot of hours, and you just hope for somebody to give you some affirmative response. And that was really, one of the first times in a long time that I'd had that kind of response. So that made me very happy. On the other part of the question, which was, how did it affect me in terms of my work? Well, it just made me more anxious to go back and do more, of course. And I had been working on a couple of large pieces previously, and I had been trying to break out of a kind of a direction that I'd been in, which for years had seemed to follow the idea that I was working on the wall, so I had these square or rectangular pieces, some of which you see here. And I really, in my degree, my MFA is in sculpture, fully sculptural. And I really wanted to get away from this idea that I was working on something that looked like a painting, so to speak. I really wanted to change the characteristics of this formality of paintings. So in some of the pieces that you see here, I really was breaking away completely by getting rid of the frame and just scalloping the edges, so to speak. And other pieces, like this large piece over here, I had created last year at the same time that I was awarded for a smaller piece that was in the show. And it was really my approach to not necessarily getting away from the frame look, but I was really trying to work within the frame in a different way so that I had a more asymmetrical look to the piece. And that was fine up until this award. And I was working with modules, little small modules, as you can see. They were all I was working them together, putting them into some kind of a form that made sense to me. And I really wanted to even get further away from that, so I started thinking about what I would do for this year. And I literally have spent a year on that one piece on the back wall, trying to modularize that, but on a larger scale, so that the pieces themselves became modules. Instead of little tiny pieces, it became large modules. And the way I work, process-wise, is to start with the materials. I don't really think about where it's going. None of these pieces did I know what I was going to end up with. I never had a plan. It starts with materials that I use as a starting point, usually some sort of a background, a backing material, or substrate that I build upon. And then it's just an evolution of ideas as I start to add more materials to it. It's a long process of evolving, of trying to put something into it that makes sense to me. And actually, I draw from all around me. So a lot of these ideas come from the world that we experience daily in the news, on TV, wherever it may be. Those all become sources for things that are going through my head. As my wife said to me when I was preparing for a speech last year for another show, said, you know, your mind is like a runaway train. And that's true. That's the way I work in the studio. I'm constantly going in all different directions. And when I speak like this, I'm probably running away like a runaway train too. So I tell people that, you know, gather me in. You know, just don't let me get too far afield. But I feel that my work speaks for myself. And I try not to elaborate too much on what the work tries to say. It does say something, but the process of making it is what's important to me. The whole process that I go through, the thought processes that go through my head at the time, the whole engineering aspects of each piece that I do is an important part of the process. All those things are important to me because that's the kind of, that's the way I work in anything. You know, I'm always interested in putting together of things, the assembly of things, the assemblage, this type of.
Susan, what about you? What's been going on the last years?
My experience is I've never worked quite so intensively or intensely as I have in the last year. And my dear neighbor Claire will testify. She always remarks when she drives by, "Well, you were working late last night." But I think with this intensity, I learned a lot about myself. It brought a clarity for me. I could just be more clear somehow about what I was doing at the moment, and also a clarity about where I might be going. And it does feel a little bit like a train, sometimes out of control, not out of control, going downhill, or moving very fast. The intensity has been great. The clarity has been wonderful. I don't get lost in the weeds so much, or I don't even go out and leave my garden as much, but that's been great. I do have a feeling that, and some of my friends and neighbors are here, I've found the way I work is I have to say no to a lot of stuff. I can't do that. I can't go to that lecture or that sit-in or that whatever. And so I'm going to also watch myself as I move through this summer of all the things that I put off and all the trips we're going to take, and just see how I'm affected. I think it's permanent, and I think the intensity of this work on this show has really honed me, changed me. We'll see.
All three of you develop surfaces in very different but powerful ways. And I'm curious to know what is maybe your favorite tool or the best way in which you sculpt, because in the way you all sculpt surfaces. So, Susan, maybe would you speak to that first?
Well, I never stop thinking about these tools. A fork, a tooth scraper, pencils that draw into the clay. Because of my arthritis in my hands, I can't do a lot. So there are two ways to build in clay: pinching and we're rolling out slabs and joining them together. Of course, the wheel I had to give up long ago because of these joints. But so I work over molds. In other words, I have a very generic head, and then I work over it and push into it, but let it be my beginning, my basic form, and then I work into it, and change it, and add, and so forth. So my hands are my biggest tool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they're simple, very simple scrapers, tools, knives, and they're all just terribly important to me.
Helen, what about you?
Well, it's an easy, simple answer for me, and that is a squeegee. It's a silicone blue bowl scraper is what it's called. If anybody's out here is using cold wax in their painting, that is a phenomenal tool. I use a lot of other stuff as well, but the favorite tool is the squeegee. They're wonderful. They're just amazing.
Bruce, what's your favorite toy?
I don't know if I have a favorite tool, but I have a workshop that, I've always had to do woodworking for a lot of reasons, and so my tools really generate a lot of where I begin from. So if I was building a piece like that or any number of things, I'm starting with a basic thing. So I'm using power tools a lot, and that just makes the job easier from the get-go. I never could get into carving as a sculptor. I do use hand tools, but the majority of the work I do is with power tools.
And I can really attest that Bruce is a whiz with power tools. He's created all of these magnificent crates and ways of storing this work, which just blows my mind. I mean, the engineering and the craftsmanship is, it's one, there could be a whole show just about how you pack
I've been
work.
told that before, It's a great show.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot different to have semi-three-dimensional pieces and try to store them without damaging them. So you really got to put them in something to protect them, and that's the only way. So I had to actually build recently a whole storage room for my crates, and actually took up part of my workshop downstairs. So I put them in there, keep them out of the sawdust and everything else, and dehumidify the room and so forth. But that's part of it.
Yeah.
I spent my life renovating things and houses and barns and so forth. It's just natural for me to work with those kinds of tools.
Well, you each work in a different media, and I was curious to know what are some of the biggest challenges in the media you work in, and despite those challenges, just has drawn you to that after any other work that you've done. Helen, want to start?
The biggest challenge isn't the result of the media. The biggest challenge is the result of trying to get where I'm going. And that's really the hardest. And because a lot of times don't know, and there's a lot more exploration that I sort of wish I didn't have to do. I think all of us, every single artist, and probably every single person who takes on a project that's important to them, has the fantasy that it should, if you were really terrific, it should just come out. And you know what you were doing, and you start working it, and it would happen. And obviously that just doesn't work. So that's my biggest challenge. The material, the cold wax, is this really fabulous material, and I said before, if there are people, I know there are people in the audience who use it a lot. It is a material that essentially sort of holds the oil paint in the medium and creates thin layers that can be, that can harden and be created layer on top of layer without a lot of blending in between, unless you do it wet on wet, and then it will be. So that kind of building, actual physical building up of the surface, is something that really appeals to me. And kind of more philosophically, I think that all of us in our personalities are built up, like a tree. So you just have layers of experiences and layers of the way we react to our experiences until we get to where we are now, which is continuing to evolve. So the fact that the painting is built up the same way that we're built up is something that just pleases me intellectually. So that's why I love that material.
Bruce, what about you?
Well, I was thinking. I would say, just touch base with questions.
Yeah, so, you know, you all work in different mediums, and so, you know, what are some of the challenges you face with yours? And despite those challenges, why do you keep going back to it?
Well, the challenges for me, and the most interesting part of the whole process for me, is solving the problems that always arise. As an artist knows, there's always something that comes along that throws you, and you have to work through it to find out what it is, how you're going to solve that particular problem. It might be it's compositionally, but it might be something that, in my case, it's usually technical, because I'm inevitably trying different things all the time. So I try different processes and different ways to work with material, construction, design, all come into it, and I run into problems constantly, and I have to step back. That's why it takes a long time for many of these pieces to evolve, because I'm working out problems that have to be done at different times, at different levels. I may have to work on more than one piece at a time, so that I have time for something else to, dry or, have something else happen to it that needs to be done. I've had a number of pieces, and this is common, that I couldn't resolve right away. And literally 2 years later, that piece will come back and turn itself into something that I finally solved. A good example is that piece behind me. That started out as a vertical piece on a wall, and I could not see it as it was, and I needed to put it horizontal. And it took me 2 years to figure that out before I decided that's how I'm going to solve it.
Right.
But so that's what's most interesting to me. I like solving puzzles. I like solving and finding solutions to it. And interestingly, I learned from my son, who happens to be very mechanical and mechanically minded. The web is a great place to go to solve problems too. So I've gone to the web many times to find solutions to the technical problems that I run into. So that's the way I work.
Susan.
Well, I think my biggest challenge, I adore clay, and I just adore it, and I've been doing it for 50 years, and I'm not tired of it. I think the first firing is the challenge when you have to give over there, a lot of you have big pots and put them in kilns, and you either start praying or you try to tell yourself that you don't really care about it. Or is it really dry? And after the first firing, my work has had many firings, but it's that first fire where you're driving out the chemically bound water. And that is the real challenge, the giving over. In fact, two pieces that I spent the last 6 months on for this show or more are here because I couldn't get them dry enough to do the first firing, not to mention the rest of them. And I have a lot of cracks to mend, and I have to take it very slowly. 3, 4, 5 months to dry a piece before I dare fire it. So someday the other two will be finished, and then if I make it too big, my husband has to place it carefully down in the kiln. And one of the pieces, we're going to take the kiln apart and put it in, and then build the kiln around it. So there's never a dull moment. There is nothing that I can repeat. It's always new. So it's amazing after 50 years.
Well, audience, now that you've gotten to know our panel a little bit, does anyone have any burning questions? Yes.
I would like to hear about the artistic influences that have shaped panelists.
Yes, wonderful. Ruth.
Well, you have to realize I grew up in the 50s and 60s as a young man. Not the 60s was I young. But I went through a period of schooling, and I was very familiar with the abstract expressionists. A lot of that group of painters are lodged in my soul, so to speak, because those were the people that attracted me. They were the active artists that were challenging the art world at that time. And so I have a great love for painters, a number of people. In the field of painting, it would be somebody like Franz Klein, Cy Twombly, groups of painters that I really admire. I have one artist that I particularly admire and still sticks with me, even though she died very young, and that was Eva Hess, who died at 34 or something like that. But she inspired me with her ability to use materials in new ways that were never even thought of. And you know, this was probably in the 50s and 60s. I wasn't even aware of her until later, but I still really find interest in her work, using materials like resins and all kinds of rubber, things like that, making mold, building things that were very hands-on. And that's the way I approach my work. It's a hands-on approach. So, interestingly, I do, well, I should say, there are artists that, sort of correlate, sort of break the, go between people like Larry Rivers, who actually constructed his venues and made large structures. I like a lot Rauschenberg, who went both ways. So, these are all people that inspire me.
Yeah. Susan, who are some of your...
Well, I have new ideas that I just thought about. Interestingly enough, I had brilliant high school students in the 70s, and they often inspired me. They were working with figure and clay 3 or 4 decades before I got there, and so I just realized that. My dear friend Anna Kolasite, who is the collaborator on this piece right here, she pushes me and inspires me, and we crit together. She's in Asheville, North Carolina, but we figure out how to kind of help each other. And she taught at Hartford High School and did many of the student shows in this building that she was teaching. Figurative ceramic artists, Tip Dolan and Christina Cordova. And in terms of content, the New York Times and Martin Luther King and those are powerful things inside of me.
Can I add one question? Because
Sure.
I wanted to ask you specifically if your work reminded me of Joe Wheelwright. I wonder if you were familiar with his work.
I did forget.
Don't look down, it's fine.
Are you speaking to everybody?
I was speaking to you
Okay,
specifically.
can you please say that again?
I was just wondering if your work, the horizontal heads, remind me very much of the work of the sculptor Joe Wheelwright.
I don't know, Joe. Where is this person?
Well, he's last no longer with us. He died 2 years ago, but he worked in the Boston area. You can see his work that they quoted. He worked in stone and in wood. And a lot of the grounds that they quoted have his sideline stone heads.
Oh, okay. The De Cordova Museum is splendid for sculpture. It's just splendid. And I will try to remember when I go back to look for that. I don't know.
It just evoked very strongly for me. I don't know if it was a very
Yeah.
Helen, would you share with us?
Sure. I think probably early on, Richard Diebenkorn was profound effect, had a profound effect on me, particularly the Ocean Park series, the way he just magnificently abstracts the landscape. And I had the pleasure of seeing them all together in DC, and they just took my breath away. The Hudson River School painters were also a major influence, not just because of the power of their paintings, but because they were working in a time when America was struggling with some of the same things we're struggling with now, and that is the balance of maintaining some of our natural beauty versus destroying that natural beauty for its resources. But America was known as this wilderness, and that's what made us unique in the world, but we were comparing ourselves to Europe and wanted to be more sophisticated, I suppose, is one way to look at it. So the Hudson River painters, in their paintings, would put in symbols that represented this really, this decision that was tearing individual hearts and souls apart, as well as major issues in the country. And that made a huge effect on me. Now, I love to go to museums, I love to look at art, and I must say, I like to look at art that's very different from mine, and I particularly respond to political art that's made with different materials and still beautiful. And I think Elman Aksuli is representative of that more than anybody I can think of. He's a Ghanan, I think he's from Ghana, and he uses the detritus, is that how you say it, or is it detritus? It's detritus, right? Of whiskey bottles, bottle caps, and the paper from the necks of the bottles, and makes these magnificent wall hangings that are based on traditional fabric patterns. They are absolutely breathtaking. So that's one, and it goes on. But I really love the political art, Susan's is very political, that's being done these days, where the craftsmanship is high, the materials relate to the content of the work.
Any other questions from our audience? Anybody brave enough?
I just wanted to ask Susan, I could ask you a personal question. How do you affect the skin quality?
So the question is, how do you, get better with the skin?
I'm just looking at that man's head, and that picture looks like the skin is just different.
I am working over molds that I've made, so I'm really working the surface all the time, nose, mouth, kind of thing. And I work pretty intensely with these tools, and then I have to figure out where I smooth, where light is going to fall. For instance, if I have a lot of scratchings right here, the face would, for me, would not, our head would not read well. So I think I go into the surface pretty aggressively, and then once I get to know it, and someplace where I'm pleased and I know the face, then I really have to think about shadow, highlight, emphasis, de-emphasis, and where I would like a lot of textural activity and where I would like some peace. And I've learned that hard way because I thought, oh, I'm just working the surface here. And then I had to sand the piece for 3 hours. And I was told my students, never sand ceramics. Never. So I'm out there outside in the cold trying to sand the texture off. Anyway, that's a really good question that I've never thought about. But
If you look at the closely, you see so many colors, you know, which what our skin is.
yeah, did you hear her? She said that she was talking a little bit about the color and the variety of color. And that's really how we are. We're not one color. And that's a great thought. I use simple, they're called understains, which are metallic stains, and underglazes, which are ceramic color, which is metallic color, not paint. And I use underglazes that have just a little bit of glass, very little, so that they're matte. And then I use slips. For instance, the orange on that head back there is actually my terracotta clay made into a slip, and it fires as a color. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it took me forever to get to this point with color, and I'm not there yet. I'm still, I'll never get there.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Well, I've been to Helen's studio and seen some beautiful figurative drawings, in addition to your landscapes, and I love the balance of the figurative and the abstract. And I was wondering if Susan and Bruce, do you sometimes just totally do a different, make art in a totally different way?
Well, I can say that,
Yeah, so the question is,
yeah, I'm sorry. You're asking me if I would do my art in any other form of art.
No, I
other than-
didn't mean it that way. Because in your art, when you're in your studio, you sometimes turn from the work that you see here to something very different, just to solve different problems or to just enjoy.
Well, I do draw. I actually draw for the figure a lot. I actually have a workshop that goes in my studio fairly regularly, where we have big models in and draw. So that's sort of the thread that runs through my whole career as an artist. You know, for 40 or 50 years, I've been drawing the figures. So I have thousands of sheets of drawing and things like that, and I've tried different media to work with that. I also like to write, and I also create what I call, well, I do collage a lot of times, because it's the assembly process, but it's a different thing. So I'm working on a flat surface, totally flat surface, and I work with different materials in collage, and I actually have written poetry using the collage method, where I've actually taken words from some other sources and then created poetry out of them. So that's something that I'm still working on. It's a long project that I may eventually finish in the form of a book. So I do it.
and Susan, do you ever step away from the clay?
I consider my drawing the figure an electronic class, and there are places in my area where I can do that, to be terribly important to me. It just informs my work, and it just informs me. So, yeah, drawing is really very important to me. And when we were in Florence last September, one response that I had was just to draw when I went to a museum, and that was, I didn't think about, oh, well, this is important for you to do. I just did it. It felt terribly important. And what I realized, all these 19th century marble carved figures, I thought, oh, it's like drawing the model, but it doesn't ever move. Oh, great. No 30-second poses here. It was a forever pose. So drawing is terribly important, and drawing the figure for me is very important.
I was just going to jump in for a second on that note. Drawing the figure is certainly a very important part to me too, but what's even more important is the fact that I'm in the studio alone much of my time. When I invite a group of people in to draw with me, it's really, that's sort of like a highlight of a week or a month, where I get all these people that I know and friends that draw and other artist friends and colleagues and so forth. We all get together in there, and it's sort of a whole different very important part of bringing myself together with other artists, which I think is very important too.
Helen, did you have
I
something
did
to
want to
add?
make just one quick comment about drawing for painters and people who work in other media, and that is that when we're drawing, we're really looking completely outside ourselves and focusing intently on what's out there and making an effort to replicate it. But it's out there, it's not in here. And in our own work, I think I'm fair in speaking for everybody, we're really just drawing so much from the inside. So it's a discipline, it's an exercise, and it's a relief.
Doesn't that just make you want to take a drawing class?
Oh, so I'm putting a plug. AVA has a Wednesday night open drawing session for anybody who wants to show up. It's not instruction, but it is what Bruce is talking about in his studio with the group that comes. We have a live model. We work very hard when the model's posing, and then we have wonderful, brief social times in between. So 6:30 to 9:30 every Wednesday.
Great. Well, thank you all so much for coming, and to Susan, Helen, and Bruce for being on the panel. I invite you all to approach them individually to ask any other questions you might have, and we look forward to seeing you at the reception.